Hello, and welcome to the Casino Tears podcast. I'm one of your hosts, 10 Ton is number one, and joining me as my co-host is the one and only Ed Robinson from Roll to Win Craps. If you want more info on our show, please visit our page at casinotears.com. On this week's show, we discuss Steve, Heavy Haltom, power numbers, put bets, pressing. We also touch on the Wayback Machine, memories, Vegas, Biloxi, dealers, tipping, handles, and 888 Yo Heavy. Hey everyone, this is 10 Ton with a quick note about today's show. It's part 2 of our interview with Heavy from a couple episodes back. Once again, thank you for spending your time with Ed and I, and a very special thanks to everyone that helps support our show on Patreon. Patreon is the only place you'll find extended versions of each show, along with some extra notes and insights from myself. With that, I bid you farewell and hope you enjoy the conclusion of our conversation with one of the game's all-time greats.
Are we rolling?
Let's start with Vegas. What's one of your favorite Vegas sessions?
Man, there's a long way to go in that.
And I'm sure you got several, but there's got to be one or two that just stick out in your mind as one of the best sessions ever.
Favorite sessions?
Your favorite session in Vegas?
Okay. Probably go back to about 2008, 9, somewhere along in there. We had a Craps Fest weekend. Back in those days, once a year, I did a Craps Fest seminar. It was a weekend where we didn't do a full craps seminar where we taught just a one-class weekend. We would have individual little tune-up sessions, and we'd have 3 or 4 people come in at a time and do toss tune-ups, and then send those people out to go play together. You know, little team hookup sessions going around with those folks around town. And it allowed us to do a lot of tune-ups over the course of a day without keeping people tied to a classroom watching other people getting their tune-ups. People seem to enjoy that format a lot. We'd have group dinners and other stuff going on around town. A lot of larger group sessions, table takeovers and things like that. And we were playing at the Golden Nugget. It was on a Sunday night after we were wrapping things up. We had a 14-foot table down at the end of the pit, the long table, and we had 13 of our players and one poor walk-up guy that had no idea what he was getting himself into. And we had one gal in the group from Austin, Texas, and her nickname was 3 Craps. Because why? Because she could throw the crap out of craps numbers, and she loved to bet the horn on the come out. And by Sunday night, we had all figured it out, and we were all playing the game within the game. So you got 13 players at this table playing the game within the game. Golden Nugget had just made a decision that they wanted the horn bets set up differently that weekend. Instead of setting them up where the player was standing at the table, they wanted the bets stacked. So this person's bet was here and the next person was, the chips were stacked on top of each other, almost in a spiral. Like by the position you were standing at the table, the chips were stacked on top of each other. And if you had more than 6 or 7 bets, you wound up with this spiral of bets up 4 or 5 inches tall, which became the wiggle wobble tower of horn bets out there. We had 13 players playing the horn bet until she tossed 3 or 4 horn numbers in a row, and the guy, player number 14 down there, figured it out. He's like, I better get on this damn horn bet because these guys keep getting paid on the horn bets. And the tower grew because we're all pressing or parlaying, and we're all betting the horn for the dealers. Everybody's throwing in a $2 short horn for the dealers. So in addition to our spiraling tower, and the dealers are just bitching about not the bets themselves, but the fact that the casino is making them have this spiral tower, and they're like, it's going to fall over any minute, and we're never going to figure out who's bet whose when it does, because
they're staggering the chips. They got to be staggering the chips according to your position or something.
Yeah, offset according, and they're like, we're never going to figure this shit out. And finally, the chips get up like 14, 15 inches tall. The box man says, fuck it, break them down and set them up the old way. So they took the whole stack down and set them back up the old way, and everybody in their position and everything. Obviously, whoever made this decision didn't expect this hand. And she tossed 13 consecutive horn numbers on the come out.
Wow.
My last hit on a horn number My last hit paid me $1,500 on a horn.
That is sweet.
I mean, it's like boom, and the dealers, because everybody's betting $2 on the horn, and you got 13 of us. So they've got like a $26 horn bet from the get-go, and it's getting pressed up.
Yeah.
So they're just raking bank off the horn number. This is a huge session. I mean, everybody made a ton of money that session. After it's over with, I mean, she's through shooting. Everybody's splash color coming in. This is over with. We're going to the room. We're packing because everybody's leaving town that night or the next morning. I slept in the next morning, went down, ate breakfast down there, then walked through the casino, and a floor man sees me and says, "Hey, Steve, come here. And I'm like, dude, what did I do? Hey, yeah, what's up, buddy? And he says, "Where's the rest of the crew at?" And I'm like, I think they all went home last night or this morning. You know why? And he says, "Oh, man," he said, "we have never had so much excitement in this casino that I can remember." And he said, "the dealers were just, man, they made so much money last night. And we were hoping you guys were going to be here another day and we could get another session like that." He's just raving about what a great time everybody had and how much money they made and how much money the dealers made. What great guests we were because we were tipping so well for the dealers and everything.
Yeah.
It was just a fun session for everybody.
It's amazing because I was in Black Hawk, Colorado.
Yeah.
We were playing at one of the casinos that I really, really liked a lot. And it was near the end of the trip. The floor man came over to us as we were just standing there waiting on them to open the table. And he just looked at, he said, "I want to thank you guys for the way you're taking care of my crew and the way that you're taking care of, you're betting for the dealers, you're putting them up on some action, and they love it. And I just wanted to thank y'all for what y'all doing for the crew." You don't get that very often.
You don't.
But when you do, you know that, you're having a good time. The dealers are having a good time. It's a special bond at that point.
It means a lot. It does. Because again, those guys are getting paid peanuts.
Yep.
A buck here and a buck there. If you hit something for them, it adds up.
All right. So that was your favorite.
I think that's from back in the day. That's the favorite one.
What about Biloxi? What's your favorite Biloxi or Mississippi? Whichever. I don't know. But it could be Tuna, could be Biloxi, whichever.
My favorite one in recent years is that when we played the last night, Mark, 220 insides last night in Biloxi.
Yeah.
He'd had a rough weekend, had not had a big hand, and he wanted to go play one more session. We just had a late night dinner at the Hard Rock Cafe, and it was after midnight. My feet were toast. I was exhausted, and Mark said, "Let's go over to the Imperial Palace and play one more session." And I'm thinking, holy shit, I'm exhausted. But everybody else says, "Yeah, that's a good idea. Let's go play one more session." I'm like, well, fuck, I might as well go. Because every time I don't, I miss out on the big session.
Yeah.
All right, I'll go, whatever, So we get in the car and go over to the Imperial Palace. There's one table open. There's an African-American lady straight out who's setting the dice, but she's got a pretty loosey-goosey toss. But she managed to have a couple of good hands here and there. It's me, Ed, Mark, and you leave the group and go to Washington, D.C. and take a government job and quit hanging out with us. And
That would be Nate.
we forget Darth Nader's name.
Darth Nader.
Nate's stick right.
There was somebody with me. Who was that? I was at stick left one.
Somebody was next to you, and then I was straight out.
The guy at stick left one, the curler. His handle was the curler.
As in the sport, curling?
He's an Olympic athlete in the curler.
Yeah,
That is awesome.
He's another Steve from Minneapolis. He's a good guy.
That was a good night. That was a good session.
The fun part about that one for me was the fact that I play with Nate so often that Nate, with his normal sets that he uses, never throws hard ways. You just never see a hard way. And right in the middle of his hand, he threw a hard 4. And I'm like, he just doesn't throw hard ways. And ordinarily, I just throw $1 each on the hard ways just for shits and giggles to see where it takes you. But in this case, for some reason, I threw $5 each on all the hard ways. And he came right back and threw a hard 6. And I'm like, press that to a quarter, locked up the change, $25, whatever. Then he comes back and throws a hard 4 again. And I'm like, press that to a quarter. I'll take the change off of that. A couple of rows later, he throws another hard 6. Oh, that's 9 quarters. For those of you that don't know how to calculate the payoffs on the hard way bets, it says it pays 9 to 1. You don't have to do the math in your head and say it pays $2.25. All you have to know is it pays 9 $25 chips. That's how the dealers pay it. 9 to 1. Okay, 9 green chips. It pays 7-1. It pays 7 green chips. They all size everything to the payoff on the bet. You don't have to know math to be a casino dealer, guys. So I get my 9 green chips and I say, make it look like 100. A couple of rows later, bam.
Hell yeah.
There's another hard
Those
6.
are the hard ways I like.
And everybody starts cheering.
Yep.
You know, and Nate's like, what the hell? You look over there and they're sliding 9 black chips across to me.
Mhm.
And Nate's like, what in the hell has Heavy done? And I'm like, yeah, you don't normally throw hard ways, but I just thought I'd take a shot. And the dude's like, you want to parlay that again? I'm like, hell no. I went up to 150, and then a couple of tosses later, he 7'd out. But I got $1,000 in 4 rows, basically, just for the fact that I play with the guy all the time. And note that he doesn't normally throw hard ways, and just kind of followed some intuition with that. Now, Vegas, and this is a story I tell in seminars all the time. Bo told this story when he was on, but he got the number wrong. It was at the Flamingo. And Bo's down here at stick left 2. Nate's at stick left 1. I'm at stick right 1. I don't recall who's beside me on my left, but Howard Rock and Roller. Keep Howard in your prayers, ladies and gentlemen. Howard straight out. And I'm with my usual $620 buy-in.
Wonder where I got that from, 10 ton.
I know. It's a coaching tree like football.
I bet 66 inside or whatever. First number out of the gun after he sets the point, he throws an 8. And I drop 3 and go to 42, which is my normal move. And the next hit pays 50 for 1. I collect 50 for 1. The next hit pays 50 for 1. I go to 90. And the next hit pays 105. I take the 100. I drop $1. Make it a $6 bet for the dealers with the extra $5 I get. Dealers get $6 because why? I want the dealers to win. I want them to participate in the happy 8 number that we're doing money on right now. It hits again, pays 105. I go to 180 and I get $15 change. We're in happy dance time now because the next one pays 210. Oh boy, I lock up 210. It rolls again, it pays 210. I drop $30 and say, make it look like 420. And the box man says, wait, what? Show me that move, and makes the dealer break it down to see how it got from 180 to 420 in one move. And the dealer breaks it down. Well, there's 180 and there's 210, and he dropped 30 and 30, and that's 420. And the box man says, that's a cool damn move, man. I've never seen that before. And I'm like, yeah, that's a heavy press there, but I don't call it that. And
why not? You should just name it.
No, that's a YouTube.
I know, but still, you go back, predate it.
Yeah. So we're at 420.
Like it.
And the next hit pays 500 for 10, and I lock up that purple chip because I'm a happy camper. And now it hits again, and I do what? I say, make it look like 900, and I get 150 change off that, and I'm at 900, and it hits again and pays 1,050. Now there's suits all over the place.
Right.
I get 1,050 and I take the 2 green chips and I toss it across the table and I say, dealer hand in. And the suits are standing there looking like this and they go, good guy, because I'm a George. Hey, I'm a good guy. I've thrown $50 to the boys. I must be okay. And then he gets the dice, looks down table and throws them off the fucking table. And the dice hit on the end of the table. And they bounce, and they bounce, and they bounce, and they bounce on the marble floor all the way to the casino cage. And what does he say? Same die requested. So we wait 5 minutes for the box to chase the dice down. And what do I say? Turn me off. Bets are off, right? Nate gets the dice back, shakes his shoulders, shakes it all out, reaches down, gets the dice, throws an 8. And I'm like, motherfucker. I didn't get paid on that one. There was 1,050 down the drain by turning my bets off. Let them work. So we're back on. He throws the dice again, throws another 8, pays 1,050. I say, make it look like 1,800. We're getting up there. Now, at this point, the cocktail server has come over and scratched him on the back and said, sir, would you like a drink? He says, no, baby, I'm just fine, or something to that effect. And I say,
turn my bets off. And he picks up the dice and throws another 8. And I say those 2 famous words, dag nabbit, Jethro, go out with Miss Ellie and hang out with the creatures at the cement pond or whatever. But anyway, so I turn my bets back on and he throws another 8 and it pays me $2,100. Same bet. And I say, same bet.
Now, if you had to turn your bets off, you'd be up around half max by now.
I'd be at table
Pretty
max.
freaking close.
I'd have been at table max because I would have gotten a hit that would have paid me 2,100. The next hit, I would have dropped 3, gone to 42. The next hit would have paid me 5,000 for 10, and I would have gone to 6,000, which would have been table max. Be that as it may, I was turned off twice. Next time, I've got 3 black chips in my hand, waiting for the next hit on 1,800. It was going to pay 21. I would have dropped 3, gone to 4,200 at that point. And that's when the 7 showed up. I made 4,400 something on that hand. I think it was 14 eights that he.
Geez, 14 eights. Wow.
Now, the other session that almost the identical thing happened was one morning I was on my way to teach class out to Nate's house. I was staying at Caesar's, and I was walking out the door, and the table at the very end of the craps pit that stands crossways out there at the end of the pit was a $15 game that morning. And I'm like, oh, I've never seen a $15 game at Caesar's Palace. I think I'll just walk over here and play a hand. There was only one player there. I decided I would play Shoot It All's famous one-hit can't miss strategy.
Love it.
For those of you that don't know, it's approximately equal-sized bets on the don't pass, which you get established, and then you place bet the 6 and 8. The 6 and 8, you need one hit to guarantee yourself a win on the hand. If you get one hit on the 6 or 8, you can't miss. You can't lose on that hand. And after that, you want as many 6s and 8s as you can get, because it can turn into a very profitable hand. Usually, you'll get one hit and you'll make $4 or $5 on the hand. And, it's just a grind strategy to give you something to do with the table while you're waiting for the dice, because you have your advantage when you have the dice. So I'm playing one hit can't miss with a $25 don't pass and $24 each on the 6 and 8. I buy in. They try to give me the dice immediately after the last guy 7'd out, and I'm like, no, I don't want to shoot. I'm just going to play. It will be right for me to buy in and immediately try to take the dice. So let's let this gentleman down here shoot the dice again. I'll take him after he's through. So they send the dice back to this guy. I play a don't pass bet. He sets the 6 as the point. And I'm like, not the optimal situation, but I place the 6 and 8 for 24 each. If he rolls a 6, I lose a $25, but I win 28, so I still make $3. I can't go wrong.
Right.
Got my 6 and 8 up there. The guy throws an 8, pays me $28. First thing out the gun, he throws the 8, pays me 28. Now I cannot lose on this hand. Now this guy proceeds to throw 14 8s, just like at the Flamingo. Wow. And I'm up again with turning off a time or two in the mix. I'm up to an $1,800 8, and I get a hit, pays me $2,100. And when he's at 18 and pays me 21, I also have a $10 hard 8 that paid me an extra $100. And I'm standing there with my $300 in my hand, ready to go to 4,200 when he 7s out. I win my $25 don't bet on the 6, which is the funny part of the whole thing. Because
he never threw another 6.
Never threw another 6. I mean, it was a long hand. It was probably 23, 24 numbers, but he threw all those 14 8s and no 6s, and then he 7'd out. And I got paid on my $25 don't bet and made $4,400 on the 8s alone over the course of literally 20 minutes. Bam. As soon as they send the dice, bam. As soon as they threw the dice, bam. Because he was just a pick 'em up and fling 'em guy. He wasn't a dice setter. He was just a random roller that threw a shit ton of 8s in a very short time.
Yeah.
Those are very memorable sessions when something like that happens.
And it's such a powerful, non-exotic little play that you can do. Because I can remember doing it, because you remember when something weird like that happens, you always remember it. I can remember being at the Hard Rock. This was probably 4 or 5 years ago. I was doing a one hit can't miss on the guy that was throwing from stick right one, and he was literally just like throwing them like a bowling ball down the line. And by the time he was through, I had collected on a $250 4, because I had just started spreading out after a little while, pressing up as he hit numbers. Because, I mean, he just kept rolling and rolling and rolling. I mean, I think he knocked me off the point, and I'm one of the guys that don't go back on the point. I always wait and see if I can get another hand going. Nate, for example, will typically Nate will typically go back up on the don't pass, right?
Yeah,
if he gets knocked
martingale
off.
it, yeah.
But I didn't, and I typically don't. I just kind of leave them out there. I've had one hit. If I pulled my bets down, I would be up, but I leave them up. But yeah, so this guy just rolled and rolled and rolled forever. When the dice came to me, I colored up.
Yeah.
It's one of those weird hands that you get involved with, and all of a sudden, boom, you've made a lot of money, and it's time to go to the cage. Anything particular about Shreveport or Bossier City, whichever one you go to the most? Where do you go to the most over there? Shreveport?
Yeah, well, I mean, they're right across the river from each other. So, I mean, that was my bread and butter for years. When Shoot It All and I used to go over there and play 3 days a week. My win goal was $160 a day,
Yeah.
trying to win $450 a week, something like that.
Those on $5 tables, right?
Yeah, just go over there and knock it out. I have funny Jim stories. We'd go over there. Jim's power numbers were 8 and 10. Jim would go and he would bet a $6 8 and a $5 10. And I would start out with an $18 8 and a $25 10. I'd have a $25 10. First hit, I'd go to 50 and he'd stay at $5. And the next hit, I'd go to 100 and he'd stay at $5. Next hit, I go to 250 and then he'd stay at $5. Next hit, I go to 500 and he'd stay at $5. Next hit, I go to 1,000. He pressed to $10, And
Yeah.
I say, Jim, you pressed all the way up to $10? Yeah. I said, damn. I got 1,000 on that son of a bitch. He just looked over and freaked the fuck out. Yeah, I should never have done that because I knew what would happen next. I knew it. He could not stand the pressure whenever somebody had a big bet on the table. He'd freak out. The next toss at the 7 would come out. But when I get to 1,000, I've already got 875 off the table, so I don't worry about it too much.
Right.
I could have had 1875 off the table if I'd turned it off. But Jim and I were buddies, and that's just kind of the way we played. Didn't worry about it. Jim make $40 in a session, drink free beer, tell his jokes to the dealers, and have a good time, and that's all it took to keep him happy. So
my partner over there, Mr. 10 Ton.
Yes.
You had to adjust the light. Is that what you were doing?
Yeah, I was adjusting the lights. Make sure Heavy's well lit.
I keep standing in the shadows of a great man over here.
Give him a martini that's porn star dirty, and he'll soon be well lit.
Yeah, he stole my line.
Well, you've got this thing about handles. I mean, you love great handles.
I love handles, man.
I've introduced 10 Ton to handles, and he's like going
But
ape shit
Ed,
over handles.
this is actually a great 2 handles next to each other. Kind of funny. Someone brought
You
it
got
up.
Heavy and 10 Ton,
Yeah,
right?
Heavy
side by
and 10
side.
Ton. And when you said to me, you're like, hey, you little sumbitch, right? I think that's what you said, you little sumbitch.
Hey, little sumbitch.
10 Ton sounds like, you should be.
Big guy?
Yeah.
Yep, big. I like the fact that you knight people. If you sign up for your class, you don't have a handle. Guess what?
He's gonna give you
I'm
one.
giving you one. You gave Jaybird. Now I'm calling him Jaybird.
Jason became Jaybird.
Yep.
That's your name now, buddy.
It sticks.
And Miguel became Primo because I didn't want to call him Miguelito because I figured they called him that when he was a child. And I didn't want to take him back to his childhood because you never know how your youth was,
Right.
But any guy named Miguelito is probably the oldest child. And I figured, well, we'll call him Primo.
The handles are good. You've probably knighted a lot of people. I call you Jaybird.
Yeah, one guy I called him Blue Devil, and how the hell did you come up with Blue Devil? And I said, well, I crept his Facebook page and saw what his high school football team's mascot was.
Yeah, Creeper.
You're now officially Blue Devil. I'm sure he was sitting home wondering, how the fuck did he come up with that? That's a high school football team name. Yeah, you put all that shit on Facebook, it opened up the world to you,
So do you have 2 or 3 off the top of your head that were your favorite handles?
Favorite handles, golfer, been around forever.
Golfer.
Very descriptive, golfer. $5 bill, very descriptive.
Yeah, I love $5 bill.
$5 bill's a good one.
And I tried to get him to bump his
handle up to like
bump his handle up to
bill?
maybe $10 bill or $20 bill or
Yeah.
something, but now he's sticking with $5 bill, because we raised 22 inside up to 220 inside.
Yeah.
I figured he was due for a bump too, but he's not taking a raise. Got a buddy up in Detroit, 12 craps, good guy. He worked for General Motors. I worked for Ford. We both did almost exactly the same job. So we had a lot of things to talk about back in the day. And we actually taught a couple of classes together up in Detroit. He had a beautiful 14-foot table down in his basement that he had to cut in half to get down into the basement, and then put it back together. That's the way it is when you live in a part of the world where they have basements. You put a basement down south where we live, you'd have to have an outboard motor out there to pump the water out of it or something, Our water table's a little higher than it is up north.
Well, 10 Ton gets super excited anytime Debbie Soft Touch is mentioned.
That's the all-time classic. Might be my favorite handle. I don't know why. But hey, listen, Ed.
I know why, but go ahead.
Heavy, I almost started laughing at the class on my second throw. You were like, you've got a nice soft touch.
Yeah, well, he does have a nice soft touch.
I guess you heard Debbie sold the website.
Well, I knew she had it for sale. I didn't know if anybody had purchased it from her or not. Probably turned it into a portal for a online gaming website or something.
Probably.
That's when Irish was first approached about selling that. He was approached by an online gaming website that wanted to buy it. That's when I reached out to Bo to see, hey, you know anybody that might be interested in buying DiceCenter.com, because he's fixing to sell it to this online casino, and it's just going to destroy what was then a great resource. And no, but let me ask around. And he talked to Debbie about it, and Debbie decided to buy it. Then she got Michael Vernon, who goes by the professor.
Mm-hmm.
They taught some classes together back in the day, and they did some partner deals with Bo as well. The professor became her webmaster and ran the site for her basically, and she wrote a few articles for it. And they kept a lot of the old content off of the DiceCenter.com site, but they scrapped the site itself. However, you can still, for those of you that are interested in looking at the old DiceCenter.com website, there's an archival website on the internet called the Wayback Machine.
Been there many times.
And you can go to waybackmachine.com and look that sucker up and plug in DiceCenter.com and look back in the era from 2003 to 2010 in that era. And you can pull up copies of the web page. They just took flash photocopies of the web pages on certain days in those years, and you can look through the entire website. You can see old articles by me, the Mad Professor, and old friend of ours, Mickey D. Mickey D is a good name, not related to McDonald's. Mickey was
Great if he was. Showed up with big red shoes.
Yeah,
table,
no kidding.
right? Ed?
We also called him Yo Lovin' Man. That was his other handle. But Mickey lived up in Connecticut, and he came down and helped out with one of my first seminars I did in Biloxi, because he desperately wanted to teach classes, and was trying to get his foot in the door. So I had him come down and help out at a class I did in Biloxi just to see if we could hit it off, and he had any skills and things. So I'd never really met him before. And he did a great job, and he was a great coach, and he was a really good shooter. And I taught him a few tricks. He was a cabinet builder. He had really rough, calloused hands. His hands were just covered in dried on varnish. He's like, I just can't feel the dice. I said, dude, go in your wife's makeup box, find yourself some embry boards, nail files. This is the safe cracker technique, okay? You ever watch an old movie where a safe cracker burglar goes in, he's going to crack a safe. And the first thing he does, he takes a sandpaper and he rubs his fingertips on the sandpaper. Then he starts spinning the dial on the safe and listening to it. He does that so he can feel the tumblers in the safe as they click into place. So he's sensitizing his fingers by getting a couple layers of skin off of there where he can feel the tumblers. I said, do the same thing with your fingers, because you've got all that varnish and calluses and shit on your fingers there. Sand them down to where you can feel something with them. And when you can feel them, then you'll be able to feel those sharp edges on the dice when you pick them up, and you'll be able to improve your toss. And he tried that, and he's like, dude, that was like fucking magic. It just worked great.
Yeah.
I mean, his shooting just went boom off the scale like that. He's a great shooter.
You have the guy one time, if I'm not mistaken, he had lost part of a digit, maybe all of a finger.
Yeah.
Develop a grip.
Yep.
So that he could throw the dice in a controlled fashion without all of his fingers.
That was Gunny.
Gunny,
as in Gunny Sergeant, Navy, retired.
Yep.
He'd actually put a bullet through the end of his shooting finger that took this bone out of the end of his finger, but they saved the finger. But he did have a bone in this last joint in his finger. So I called it a flubber finger. It was just a piece of meat that dangled on there.
Damn.
But he couldn't feel anything in his middle finger or anything. So I got him a grip trainer.
Flubber.
I got him one of those grip bar trainers that he could just train himself to get his fingers in alignment and just muscle memory from that point. Boom, like that, So it's just muscle memory and repetition, doing the same thing over and over. That guy got to be a great shooter. I mean, before he passed away, he was living in Las Vegas, supporting himself, playing dice.
Oh, nice.
Guy was a good shooter.
I want to ask you something. You actually brought it up at your class. The thing that surprised me the most, both of you guys bring up the concept of intuition. Bo, maybe even more heavily, but you like led with this. This is one of the first things that you talked about at your class, which I found very interesting. And that was important enough for you to have as a key point in your syllabus.
Yeah.
Because intuition, that is just a gut feeling. It is one of our unseen senses, whether or not you even believe it's a sense. That's why it's called the sixth sense. It's not tangible. So because of that, a lot of people won't buy into that. But I believe dice influencers or craps players need to have that. I think the better ones have heightened development of whatever intuition is.
I believe any hobby or any sport or any profession that you're in, if you excel at it, you have some degree of native intuition that helps you excel at it. If you're a pro athlete, you're a pro football player running down the field, you've caught a pass, here's your guy down here that's going to tackle you. You've got to have a degree of intuition whether he's going to react and break left, break right, and you're going to be able to scoot around him or not. Yeah, you're going to make your little move to dodge the guy, give a little head bob or whatever, but you've got to have some degree of intuition if you're going to excel as a wide receiver and be able to be successful at that. The same goes in business. When you're trying to close a deal and you're sitting across from a customer, you've got to have some degree of intuition as to when to say the right thing and what the right thing is to say. You've got to be able to read the customer. And they're not always verbal signs. They're other kinds of signs that you see, you sense. And I don't care what it is in life, everything, whether you're dealing with animals, whether you're dealing with plants you're growing, I mean, people say, oh, I talk to my plants every day. And, and other people say plants don't understand what you're saying. Well, why do my plants grow better than yours do?
Well, there's a study that people have played different types of music, harsh music, to ice crystals that are being frozen. Those crystals become extremely ugly and brutal, whereas they play like symphonic music, and the crystals underneath are absolutely, majestic.
Oh, yeah. Same thing with playing music to unborn children, how that helps them develop intellectually in the womb.
I was playing with one of your former students,
Mhm.
the jacket.
Yep.
Ed, I'm going to tell you about the jacket. Smooth shot. So we were shooting together. I needed the yo to close out the all tall. And in my head, I was like, I should change my dice set on the next toss to hit the yo, right? And then I said, okay, I'll just do it on the next one. But I had that feeling like I should change my set, right? Of course, 7 out right then. The jacket, says to me, I wanted to tell you right then to change your set to hit the yo. And that is a case of like, why didn't I listen to that gut, that instinct right then to do it for a craps player? That intuition, I think, is so real. Can you even talk about it more as far as how it relates to craps? Because
Sure.
I actually was surprised that you talked about it.
Well, the situation where I was talking about it related to statistical odds of when you should, mathematically, if you're really playing by the math of the game, when you should consider taking a regression on your bets, taking a little money off the table to lock up profit, and when it's probably safe to go ahead and press your bets. But if at any given time you get that little small voice in the back of your head saying, I think it's time to take a little money off the table, I said, don't wait till the next roll. Do it right then, right there, because the next roll is probably going to be too late.
It's so true. Ed, I know you don't like to do that. You like to keep going, but it's true.
If that little voice in my head says, you got too much money out there, Heavy either turns his bets off right then and then
thinks about it,
adjust his bets on the next toss, or I stop and make a regression right then. I may have $490 out there in various bets pressed up different degrees, and I might just come back and say, let's make it look like 160 across or something like that. Rebalances everything. Or I might look at the numbers that I have the most money on and say, let's bring the 10 down to 100. Let's bring the 6 down to 90, and and the 8 down to 42, this number down to 25, rebalance them according to how much I've got them pressed up. But I'm going to get some profit off the table so that if the ugly number comes, it's not going to sweep that money because I've got an extra 250, 300 bucks over there that's better in my rack than in the casino's rack. And if the hand continues, I can press more aggressively than I was before to get them back up to that level. I can go full press the next 2 hits and get right back up where I was.
Ed, I think this is one of the more interesting subjects and topics, not only in craps and all of gambling. It's also in life too. I mean, this is what the Sixth Sense was about.
Yeah.
Listen, intuition is real. I believe in it.
And, it factors into every game I play. And on the counter side, last month I'm standing at the table and I've got the 5 as the point and I throw a hard 6. And I'm thinking to myself I watch the dice after every toss. When I throw the dice, I watch how they land, how they react with the felt. I can determine from how they react with the felt if there's something wrong with my grip. If so, whether it's an alignment issue with my fingers, whether I'm pushing through with my thumb, am I rolling my wrist over, what am I doing wrong? And I can correct it on the next toss. Or if I did something right, I can duplicate it on the next toss. And I threw a hard 6. And I'm like, okay, that was a good toss. I landed the dice right there. If I want to throw a hard 8, all I have to do is throw that exact same toss, but land the dice 1.5 inches further closer to me. 1.5 inches will give me 2-face turnover, and they'll die with a hard 8 after they bounce back off the wall. You may think this is mathematical bullshit. I throw out a $5 hard 8 hop and a $10 all-day hard 8, and I pick up the dice and loft them down there, and bam, throw a hard 8. So I get $150 plus $90, $240 for that one toss of the dice. Now, I think Ed's seen me do the same thing in Biloxi, where I hopped the hard 8 for $10 and an all-day hard 8 for $10 for $390 down. Plus, I had a $420 place bet on the 8. Plus, I had a pass line bet with max odds on the 8.
That's a jackpot. That's a craps jackpot.
$1,000 payoff on 1-8, why did I do that? Because the little voice in my head said, hey, if you land that dice 1.5 inches further back than you did last time, it'll be a hard 8 instead of hard 6. Exactly the same situation. And did it then and did it again. So, stuff like that works. You just got to listen. Be open to what the voice in your head tells you, because it tells you something.
Heavy's the master at that. Maybe not the master, but a master of that.
And people also talk about my ability to read the table, but the ability to read the table is so much math. I always bet the 6 and 8. Mathematically, it's the best bet on the table, unless they're letting you buy the 4 and 10 for $39 and they're paying the vig after it hits. Then the 6 and 8, takes a back seat to the 4 and 10. But 4 and 10, where you're getting a huge buy up front and they pay the vig after it collects, I get the 4 and 10. And then
nice, I like that.
Then the 5 and 9. But the 4 and 10, essentially when they're bought, they pay 2 for 1. There's 3 ways to roll the 4, 3 ways to roll the 10. That's 6 combinations of the dice that add up to 4 or 10. There's 6 combinations of the dice that add up to 7. The 4 and 10 pay 2 for 1. So it's essentially, once you throw away the vig, forget the vig, it's a buck, throw that away, it's a even money bet.
Nice.
Oh, it pays 5%.
Nice.
No, it's 5% if it's a $20 buy. It's not a $20 buy. We're pushing the house up to $30, $35, $39. We're getting that vig down in the toilet. It's down to nothing. So we're going to get that vig down. We're going to get $30 is going to pay us 60 for that dollar. 35 is going to pay us 70 for that dollar. If they break it at 39, 39 is going to get us what? $78 for a dollar if they break it at 39, and some casinos in Mississippi do that. So you just got to ask.
Yeah, so there and there's a difference, because Heavy is the one that taught me the real treasure of betting even numbers when we were in Vegas.
Hey everyone, this is 10 Ton. And don't you hate it when we end the show like that? Right when you're getting into it, you're invested in the combo, and then bam, out of nowhere, we just leave you hanging. If you're on our Patreon page, though, you get the full episode along with some show notes. Hope to see you there. And of course, new episodes drop weekly every Tuesday. Let me repeat that. New episodes drop weekly every Tuesday. We hope you enjoyed this podcast, and we'll tell all of your fellow craps playing friends about it. Please follow Casino Tears on Apple Podcast, Spotify, or your favorite podcast app. If you like the show, please rate it 5 stars and leave a review. The best and most fun way to contact us would be to call and leave a message on our official Casino Tears vent line, 229-NO7. You can also email us at no7@casinotears.com. And lastly, To help support this podcast, you can visit our Patreon at patreon.com/casinotears. On behalf of Roll to Win Craps from Alabama and 10 Ton is number one from Las Vegas, thanks for listening.